Mr. Fix-It.
Proudly supported by Aquabion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
Mr. Cloonan, how are you doing?
I am wonderful. Sure, look, the sun is shining, and I passed so many places here on the way here with roadworks, and I did well to get here. I was turned back and it was slowed down, but I got here in time because I left in plenty of time. It's a thing you should try every now and again. But I passed so many places with daffodils. The daffs are everywhere and they just look fantastic.
Oh, they really do.
Yeah.
And they were out quite early. Again, I suppose the winter wasn't as cold as it might have been. Correct. So that always encourages a bit of growth in the world, which is welcome.
Absolutely. Cold
so
this
let's
morning,
get
though.
It is, but sunny in many parts of the Midlands. A few showers around. It's March of many weathers, typical. But our first query comes from Jim in Mullingar. And unfortunately, he has a crack in his oil tank. And if there's one thing you do not want now...
That's gas. After a long discussion about the price of oil, and the first question is an oil tank. That's gas.
So, it's oil, not gas. Anyway, he says, I'm looking at trying to prevent this given the price, and it's near the top, thankfully. But if I was to fill the tank, my concern is it might expand. So would Brian recommend patching over the crack, or do I need a new tank?
You need a new tank, really, Jim. Now, I think they have a recommended life of something like 8 or 10 years, which you wouldn't think when you're buying them. And, you know, when you're buying them, 8 or 10 years seems like such a long time away. And then, of course, in 8 or 10 years, you're saying, so just it's only a couple of years since I put it in that tank. So if it has developed a crack, so if it didn't get a bang or a knock or something like that, and it developed a crack, well, then you'd have to say the plastic has become brittle and it's going to develop another crack somewhere else. And this time it could be below the oil line. And yes, every time you fill an oil tank, there's a lot of movement on it. So you're putting pressure on it the whole way around. Even though you might fill up the oil tank to just below that crack, the crack, because of the movement, would probably spread. So if for any reason you can't replace the tank quickly, sometimes it's hard to get at, and, then you would use either a 2-pack filler, or better still, go to a Motor Factors and get a fiberglass kit. And a fiberglass kit is a sheet of fiberglass, which would be maybe, a foot square or 18 inches square, and you soak that fiberglass. So it's a mesh type material, and you soak it in a resin. And the resin, what comes in the kit is the fiberglass patch, a tin of resin and a tin of hardener. And then once you soak the fiberglass in the resin with the hardener mixed through it, and then just apply it. So it's quite easily done, really, because now you make sure to wear gloves. It's a horrible, tacky, sticky stuff, but you apply it then to the tank and you spread it down. Don't cut it any smaller. You might say, the crack is only 2 inches long and this is a 12-inch sheet. Great. That's exactly what you want, because you want to spread it over a much bigger area. And I think you'll be fine with that particular crack. I don't think you have an issue again with that particular crack. But long term, there's a reason it cracked. It's almost certainly just age related, and you'd be afraid it's going to go somewhere else. And the last thing you want is an oil leak, particularly if it's near the house. The problem with liquid like that, with oil, any spill like that, any leak like that, is it travels to the driest sand soil it can get. And the problem is, of course, that the driest sand and soil you have anywhere around your house is under your house, because, it's more protected. And oil, even though the tank might be, a little distance away, it can often get in under the house, and it is a horrible, horrible smell. So don't take chances. Do the temporary fix if you want, but replace the tank in the fullness of time. And I suppose also worth mentioning, I heard a couple of times in the last week, and they seem to have died away, but a few times during the week I was talking to people who had heard reports of oil being stolen. So I suppose just look at your tank, have your lock on the top of it. You can buy those long just a long padlock really that goes through the top of the lid so the lid can't be taken off. But really it's all about, is there a side gate that's left open? Can you lock it? Can you make getting to the tank as awkward as possible? That's really the secret. And as always with these things, it's about making it easier to go next door. So if it's easier to do the house next door, the chances are they'll go to the house next door. So make your house as difficult as possible, whether it's you can get plastic spikes that go on the top of the wall. You can get, as I say, if it's access from a gate, lock the gate, put a lid. There's a lid on the top of your tank that has a bar that goes through it. Get one of those long padlocks that goes through the lid, stop the lid from being taken off. Just make life as difficult as possible.
Your neighbours must love you. Gerard in Abbeyleix says, we have a lovely stone wall at the front of our house. A modest man is Gerard. He says, unfortunately, the capping stone has started to fall off in recent months. I tried cementing it back on and it just doesn't stick and so falls off again. Is there any fix?
So is there movement? Why is it falling off? But I suppose the answer is use something a lot stronger than just sand and cement. So you can use grip fill or grip tight or stick salt, Tech 7, any of those things that have a much higher adhesion. Now the one thing I'd say is clean if there's a lot of dust there and you're only sticking if there's a lot of the old cement there, then you're only sticking to the old cement which has come loose. So get the bottom of the stone as clean as possible. Take a wire brush to the stone. Take a wire brush to the top of the wall so that you are sticking stone to stone, not loose cement to loose cement. And that's probably the problem here. Now, why it came off in the first place is another thing. Look, it can be as simple as it got a bang, somebody bringing in a trailer or a tractor or, a van or whatever, gave it a tip, and that's enough to move it. But sticking the loose concrete to the loose concrete is not a solution. So get it good and clean. And then, as I say, the cheaper ones would be the grip tight or the grip fill. And then the slightly dearer ones are the Tech 7, Stick All, Fix All, there's a million of them out there. And just use the whole tube. You don't need the whole tube, but you're not going to use the tube again. So, and get the clearer ones if you're doing that. The grip tight is always grey in colour. The Stick All, Tech 7, they're all available in a whole raft of colours. But always go clear because it'll just be less noticeable afterwards if a little bit does weep out. And always just practice sitting it down. It seems a bit silly, but when is it at its most steady? Before you put the glue on at all, sit it down and rock it and see, is it sitting steady there? And if it is, sit it in place and get some masking tape and put it in the stone and bring it down onto the pier and then just cut the masking tape. And now you're lining it up like a jigsaw piece. You're lining it up so that the two pieces of tape, when you lift off the thing to put on the glue, you're sitting it down and making sure those two bits of tape line up. And now you're positioning that in the position that was automatically the natural position, the steady position to have it in the first place.
Okay, stay there for a moment.
Can I just say, I just want to wish a happy birthday, if that's okay, to my mother-in-law, Vera Dunn in Portlaoise, who is an incredible, I don't know if she even wants me to say it, because you'd never ever imagine it. But she's 90 years of age. And honestly, if anybody knows her, they'd never ever think of it. You'd think she was 70. She's a 90-year-old.
I'm sure she enjoyed people thinking she was 70, so well bloody done.
But 90 is pretty incredible. And I'll tell you, she's a 90-year-old with the mental strength and the determination of an army ranger. She's an incredible woman. And when an obstacle is put in her way, she just deals with it and climbs over it. And she's 100 different activities. And she's an energy that I wish I had. And she's 90. And I'm not quite there yet. But anyway, happy birthday, Vera. It was yesterday, but happy birthday, Vera. She's a marvellous woman. And I'm really so fond of her. And I'm so full of admiration for her, as you've probably guessed. That's it.
As far as obstacles, she obviously couldn't overcome her son-in-law. Now, Brian, stay there. More questions to answer after these.
Mr. Fix-It. Proudly supported by Aqua Bion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
Brian Cloonan is with us until 11 o'clock, and he's here from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore. Our competition this week is with thanks to O'Mara's Garden Pavilion, and Osmo is their moss busting solution. It is organic, it has no nasty chemicals, and it's also not going to stain your patio. So €100 worth of Osmo can be yours if you figure out our mystery under the moss. So go to the Midlands 103 Facebook page. You'll see the video of this location in the Midlands, and I'll give you a few clues on it a little bit later. But you can either leave your answer in the comments under the post, or you can send me a text when I give you the clues, whichever is easier. Okay, Brian, our next question comes from Johnny in Castle Pollard, and he says, the wife is away for the week with her family and kindly left me a list of things to do. So, moving furniture...
We've all been there.
Moving furniture with the son from one room to another, we may have left a rather bad dent in a painted wooden door frame. And I'm no carpenter. So what can I do to make it look better before the weekend? You are talking to a total novice here, lads.
Well, really the best thing to do. So you just need a filler and paint over it. So probably paint it white, so it should be easy enough to paint over it. Honestly, if you use any ordinary filler, it'll just fall out again. So the thing to use is a 2-pack filler. So 2-pack filler is what they fill cars with, but it's used all the time as a filler. Now, you can buy it in a coloured wood filler, but just all you want is white. A white 2-pack filler. Loads of different brands do it. Douglas. The car body fillers tend to be grey, but you will get it in white, which makes it a lot easier to cover then when you're painting afterwards. And a 2-pack means that you squeeze out, if it's in a tin, you take out a lump of one, you take a small amount of hardener and you mix it through it, and then you apply it. It's going to set within about 5 minutes. So what you do is you apply it and get it as smooth as you can. I would always say use a plastic scraper. Really the handiest thing in the whole lot is an old loyalty card, a credit card, something like that. You get it as smooth as you possibly can. It'll be set. It sets in minutes, but I'd always leave it about an hour, and then just get some fine sandpaper, well, maybe some medium sandpaper to start with, then some fine sandpaper. Get it so smooth that it just blends in completely. And even though it's white and the paint is white, you will need to paint over it again. So just one coat of paint will do it. Hopefully, if some of the paint that was used to paint it there, and honestly, no one will ever see it again. You know, you might know to look at it, it looks a fraction different, but no one looking at it will ever notice it whatsoever. And if you use ordinary filler, it tends to fall out just because of expansion and contraction between the heat in the house and movement and so on. It tends to fall out afterwards. So that's why the 2-pack. It's more expensive, it's more difficult to work with, but you're guaranteed it'll never fall out.
Now, next comes Grace in Timahoe, who got a PVC door, and there is a tiny piece of stained glass in the centre of it. But recently this piece of glass is starting to wobble, especially in heavy wind. Oh. Is there anything I can do?
Yeah, just get a small... Now, do you know the handiest thing is you can buy very small tubes of silicone, or we mentioned earlier the Tech 7 or the generic Tech 7. There's dozens and dozens out there, but some of them come in small squeezy tubes, and that's all you need in this case. So what you're doing is go to the little bit of glass and rattle it yourself. You know, push against it with your finger, see where the movement is. Is it the whole way around, or is it just at the bottom, or just at the top, or just at one side? And then just pushing against it wherever the movement is. You may be working from the inside, you may be working from the outside. I would say you probably wherever you feel the space is, and just put in a small amount of the we'll call it Tech 7, it's whatever you're using. It's like a silicone. A silicone will do, by the way. A clear silicone will do. The only advantage of some of the silicone tends to be translucent, whereas those Tech 7s and Stixol and Fixol tend to be available in a crystal clear one. And of course, the beauty of the crystal clear one is you definitely won't even notice it when you put it in. So just put that into place, and if you need to tape it there, tape the glass there to stop it moving while the Tech 7, the Stixol sets, that's fine. But just once it's in place, it'll never rock again. And if there's a rattle there, it also means there's a bit of a breeze coming through as well, probably. So it's no harm to do it from that point of view as well.
All right. It's coming up on 11:15. Still plenty of time to get involved. Pick Brian's brain. 083 30 10 103 on text and WhatsApp. Powered by Lamb Brothers Toyota in Tullamore. Where will we go for our next query? Let's go to Moneygall, where Anne says we have wallpaper in our living room that has been painted over many years. Now, where the two parts meet, it has bulged out, separated, and there's actually a gap. So what can we do other than finally taking down the wallpaper?
Take it down the hill.
That's a bit of a chore, though. You have to get steamers and stuff.
Yeah, and the more often it's been painted over, the harder it is. So normally, if this was just plain wallpaper, you'd be getting a little tube of wallpaper overlap adhesive paste. So it's a little tube, like a tube of toothpaste. Loads of people, Solvite, Douglas, they all make it. And it'll probably still work in this case, but just the fact that it's been painted over, it's going to make it more difficult. So, funnily enough, the last question we mentioned the generic Tech 7s, the Tech 7s and the generics, and again, they come in small tubes. They have huge adhesion compared to a normal adhesive. And because it's painted over, it's going to be harder, like genuinely physically tougher than a normal wallpaper that, is as flexible as paper. This is not going to be that flexible. So what I would be saying is probably use one of those. If you're going out to buy one, it'll cost you the same. A tube of Stick-Sol will cost you, or Fix-All, whatever, will cost you the same as a tube of overlap. You'll have more than you need in it, but that's fine. You can use it for other things. But the whole secret here now is you may need to just steam it. And steam it can be as just use the electric iron to soften it up a little bit. Just steam it for a couple of minutes, put in the adhesive, and then push something against it. So practice having a piece of furniture with a piece of timber in front of it that you can push against it to keep the weight on it while it's setting. And again, if you go crystal clear, you'll be sure that it's not going to be visible afterwards. You don't need much of the glue. It's very strong. It's the thickness of a silicone, but it has the adhesion of, I want to say super glue, but it's not like super glue. It's super glue is as thin as water. And people so often, the number of times we get people in the shop and they're looking for a tube of super glue, and it turns out it's the worst glue they could use. It's great for some things, but it is as thin as water. And you need something here with a little bit of body, that when the paper doesn't want to go exactly right up against the wall to, micron to micron, there could be a gap of a millimetre. If you use super glue, the problem is it's not going to bridge that gap. Whereas if you use the likes of the overlap and repair adhesive, or the likes of the Tech 7, Stick-Sol, Fix-All, any of those, they have the consistency of silicone, a little bit thicker, and they will do a better job.
Just looking at the amount of texts concerning fuel prices and the variations this morning, where some stations have passed on the excise cut, others have not. In Laois, Lucas says he saw $2.28 per litre for diesel and he just drove on, didn't buy it. Debbie has spotted, as she was coming out of Dublin this morning, an apple green and a Maxall at $2.25 to $2.30. The Circle K further along was 208.
Wow.
Again, she knows where she'll be going. Now, again, some of these stations will get, in smaller areas, maybe 2 or 3 fills a week, and others are getting 2 or 3 fills a day. We still didn't get a clear answer why on budget night do they all go immediately up when the excise is increased, but they're slower to come down.
Yeah.
It's the same excise, you would think. We'll come back to those messages after 11 with David Hollywood, because he will have the hauliers president in studio to look at whether the cuts announced are adequate or not to keep prices under control. Right now, though, it's just gone 11:15.
Mr. Fix-It. Proudly supported by Aqua Bion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
So where is Under the Moss? If you go to the Midlands 103 Facebook page, Instagram, you will see the video, which is a little obscured. But if you can clear that moss and work out which town we're in today, €100 worth of Osmo can be yours thanks to O'Mara's Garden Pavilion in Gaybrook in Mullingar. Just look up Arthur and the team on the socials. So I'll give you a little clue. This town is on the River Shannon. and it has a white bridge. Does that tell you the answer? 083 30 10 103, along with your name and where you're listening. Or indeed, just leave your comment under the social media posts. Okay, back to the matters at hand, Brian. So our next caller has a problem with reading messages, obviously, because I've managed to lose it's Bernard in Delvin, and he says the silicone in the bathroom has turned black, which obviously looks terrible, and he's wondering what is the best way to clean it. Any solutions?
So if it's in the shower tiled area where you're not coming in contact with, timber, just spray on. There's so many, the likes of the HG mold killer, the Moldex mold killer. There's two different types. There's basically one that uses a chlorine-based one and a non-chlorine-based one. So really the chlorine-based one does a much better job in that you just spray it on, leave it alone, and then come back in about half an hour, and if it's in the shower, hose it off. All the mould will be gone. Now, chlorine, you have to be very careful with it. It will destroy clothes. It can damage paintwork. So you only use it on a tiled or PVC surface, or like within the shower itself, or in the bathroom. If you're tiled down to the floor and it's along the edge, you can spray it there, but don't use it on a painted surface because it can damage the painted surface. Otherwise, you're using one of the spray-on mold killers, and you just leave those to work probably for 24 hours and then wash them off. So it's one or the other. They both will do an equal job. Long term, to be honest with you, if your silicone has gone black, it means that whoever did the job didn't use what's known as sanitary silicone. So sanitary silicone is designed specifically for use in a shower, in a bathroom, around the kitchen sink, because it doesn't go mouldy. There's a very high anti-mould content to it, and you should probably cut out the old silicone. So get a razor blade or a scalpel, and when I say a scalpel, you can buy a little packet disposable scalpels for a couple of euros. Cut out the old silicone, wash everything down then with alcohol, and then put on fresh silicone. And the fresh silicone you're going to use now will be either white or clear sanitary silicone, sanitary sealant, and that won't go black because it has such a high mould content. It stops the mould from growing in the first place.
And mould, I assume, in the likes of a bathroom, it's somewhat inevitable. It's not a sign necessarily that anything is wrong with your house.
No, I mean, look, ideally, if you have in the shower, if you have a fan, it makes such a difference. I mean, if we just open the windows afterwards, we don't tend to do it. And of course, particularly in the winter when, you don't want to be letting in the cold air after you get out. And the problem is you forget to close the window and you're freezing the whole top floor of the house, or the bedroom at least, or whatever. But if you have a fan, or if you can get a fan fitted, put a timer in the fan so that when you turn on the light in the bathroom to go in and have a shower, the fan comes on, and then put a timer. That they nearly all come with a timer, but if you're buying one, make sure you buy one that has a timer, and you'd leave the timer on for another 10 minutes afterwards. So that means that for 10 minutes this fan is sucking out all the moisture filled air, the steam that you created from your shower, and that would make a huge difference. And the other thing to look at is if you find there are just a few areas that tend to get mould, what you do is spray off, get a mould killer as opposed to the chlorine based one. Get a mould killer, kill it, leave it to work, wash off the mould, and then reapply it in a concentrated form. Reapply it so that the mould killer stays behind. Don't wash it off. And if you could think of doing that at the start of every winter, you won't get mould in the first place.
Michael in Burr says he's getting the greenhouse ready for a new year of gardening, and he was absolutely scourged last year with tomato blight. Heartbroken he was, no tomatoes at all. Now he says, I was to clean it out completely and kill any spores and whatever bacteria might be in it, but I'm just not sure what the right stuff is for the job. What's Brian's thinking on the matter?
Well, the right stuff for the job for years and years and years and years was Jay's fluid. So you mixed Jay's fluid, can't remember the ratio now, but it's on the back of the tin. And then 3 years ago, they discontinued the old Jay's fluid and they came up with a new improved Jay's fluid, which of course didn't do half the jobs that the old J's fluid did. So now it turns out the reason they did it was that the active ingredient in the old J's fluid had become more expensive. But now what they've done is they have the new J's fluid, and the traditional J's fluid is available again. It is more expensive, but it does the jobs that the other ones don't do. So in this case, what you'd be doing is mixing the J's fluid. It goes a long way. I'm guessing it's something like 20 to 1 or something like that. So it does go a long way. And you would mix it in your knapsack sprayer and just spray everywhere. So blight are spores in the soil mostly, but they can be on surfaces. So get into your greenhouse and spray everything, but drench if you're not changing the soil. Just spray the soil with the J's fluid mixture and leave it to work. Just walk away, leave it for a couple of days, and all the spores will be dead. And now you can go ahead and plant in the normal way. And that's really the best thing to do. I would say if you have containers in there, take out all the containers, empty out all the compost, start with fresh compost. But if it's on soil, on the ground, just spray. If it's a concrete surface, grand, spray the concrete surface, spray everything with the J's fluid. And then you're starting with a sterile, clean environment. And the chance of that happening again is very, very slim.
So, final couple of words. Paul in Banagher says, regarding the cracked oil tank, if it's made from polyethylene, as most are, fiberglass resin won't adhere to it properly. We can't use fiberglass on our polyethylene rowboats for this reason, because when the plastic flexes, the fiberglass cracks.
And has he any words of wisdom?
He didn't offer an alternative. Paul, you might send that to us.
Yeah, great. And thanks for that. I haven't heard that before. I know people have used it before, but I don't know. That's great. Good to know.
Here's a slightly different solution. Guys, I had a farmer who had diesel stolen on a regular basis. So what he did is he filled the tank with water. It was stolen once more, but never again. Guess why?
Yeah,
Brian, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Will.
You'll find him at Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore, and he'll be back next Wednesday, 10:20. David Hollywood is here after the news at 11.